Hey folks, today I'm going to show you how to build an AI assistant on top of the Langchain.rb Ruby library and on top of the OpenAI large language models and utilizing the OpenAI function calling. And we're going to build an e-commerce AI powered assistant that will be managing our e-commerce store, specifically processing orders, managing our inventory, shipping orders, and processing payments. Let's take a look really quickly at the diagram of our store and what our AI assistant is going to be doing. So presume we have an e-commerce store that integrates or strings a lot of different services together, and we have an AI agent in the middle that is a business logic orchestrator and it interfaces with all these different services. And today specifically, we're going to build out the payment service, the inventory management, and the shipping service. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to create a directory and call it e-commerce assistant. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a gem file. And I'm actually going to go ahead and paste the content to save us some time. So we're going to pull in the Langchain.rb library and the main street, which is a Ruby library that helps you validate addresses. And this e-commerce store is going to be, this AI agent is going to be using various tools. So mainly inventory management, payment gateway, and the shipping service. So let's go ahead and create those. And we'll put them under the tools folder. I'll start out with the inventory management, and I'll go ahead and paste some code here. We could see that this inventory management tool is going to inherit from Langchain tool base. We're going to set a name, the annotations path that I will explain in a second, the inventory, and we're going to have the initializer that initializes some inventory for a couple different random SKUs and their corresponding quantities. And we're going to have several different methods. Check inventory that takes in the SKU and the quantity, and this method will check against the inventory and see if we have the requested quantity of the given SKU. Update inventory will take a SKU and the quantity and update our existing inventory. So once we have this file, we also need to create a corresponding interface that will be sent to the OpenAI. So we'll create a corresponding JSON file and paste in the definition for the two class method, for the two instance methods that we've got. So the first one is check inventory, and we will explain to the large language model that this method checks the inventory if specific product is available in requested quantity, and it takes two properties, the SKU of type string, product SKU number, and the quantity type number and the requested quantity, and they're both required. And very similarly, we've got the update inventory, and we're explaining it to the LLM model that it updates the inventory with the new quantity for a specific product. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create our payment gateway folder and our payment gateway.rb tool. To save us some time, I'll go ahead and paste some code. Same thing, it inherits from the Langchain tool base. and we'll go ahead and create the corresponding JSON file. So this service has two methods: charge customer, which it issues a charge for a given customer ID and the amount, and refund customer for a given customer ID and amount. And what we're returning here is just some dummy data. So a JSON representation of a successful transaction. The transaction would have gone through. We assign a random UUID as a transaction ID, confirm the amount, customer ID, transaction type as a charge, and return the transaction date. And very similarly for refund customer, we confirm that it was a successful transaction for a transaction ID, amount, customer ID, transaction type refund, and transaction date. And in our payment gateway.json, we describe this interface as well. So let's go ahead and create our third tool, which is the shipping service. And we will create the shipping service.rb. I'll go ahead and paste our code. So the shipping service has three different methods: validate address for a given address, and this is where we're using the mainstream gem. If the address is valid, we will get back true, and if not, we will receive a failure message. It creates a shipping label for a given customer name, address, and provider. And whenever this method is invoked, we first validate the address, and then we ensure that the provider is one of the supported ones, which are UPS, FedEx, USPS, and DHL. And very similarly, we return a dummy JSON back to confirm that the transaction was successful, the tracking number, and the provider. And we also have a similar method to create a return label. And let's go ahead and create our interface. All right. Let's create a main.rb file where all of this code is going to be executed from. So I'll paste in some code. So we're going to require the OpenAI Ruby gem. We're going to require the Langchain.rb library. We're going to require our tools. And we will start an IRB session. So that way we can drop into a REPL session. We can try out our tool. So let's go ahead and give us a run. Okay, so we can now instantiate our LLM that we're going to be using. And now let's write out the instructions. And I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this here. So we are going to tell our assistant that it is an e-commerce assistant GPT and that it's tasked with processing orders. So now we can instantiate our assistant, pass it the LLM that it's going to be using, pass it the instructions, and pass it the tools that it's going to have access to. So we're going to give it access to the inventory management, the shipping service, and the payment gateway. And lastly, we need to instantiate a thread, which is going to keep track of all of the different messages that are exchanged. So I'm going to clear my screen. And I'm going to drop a message for our assistant and say that Andre Bondrev with the random customer ID, just purchased one blue medium AI lovers t-shirt with a given SKU, and his address, which is not a real address, is 667 Madison Avenue, New York, NY 1003665. And we're going to set auto tool execution true so that if the AI assistant decides to invoke different tools, it can do so automatically. Let's run it. All right, let's take a look at what happened. So the first message, the instructions go in there as a message, as a system message, instructing the AI how it's going to behave. Then this is our message that we just sent. The assistant first comes back with a request to check the inventory and passes the given SKU and the quantity. We execute the tool and we return true that this SKU in quantity 1 is in fact available. Then the assistant decides to validate the address and passes our address. The tool is invoked and it returns true that yes, indeed, this is a valid address. Then the assistant decides to charge the customer, and it passes the customer ID and the amount. And it also invokes a method to create the shipping label. And it specifies the customer name, the address, and the provider. And the shipping label is created successfully, and here's the tracking number. And also the customer is charged successfully. And here's the transaction ID, transaction date, transaction type. And lastly, what we see is that the order for one blue medium AI lovers t-shirt for myself has been successfully processed. Here's the shipping provider, and here's the receipt, basically. Let's tell our assistant that we had just received a new shipment with new inventory. We had just received a new inventory shipment with the following SKUs and quantities. And let's run the tools automatically. Let's see what the assistant decides to do. So you could see that after we had told the AI assistant about our new inventory shipment, it decides to call the update inventory method 3 times for each SKU. Update inventory with the first item, the second item, and with the third item. So to recap, we have just built an AI-powered assistant that can operate our e-commerce store behind the scenes. We gave it access to tools and different services that every online store is comprised of. In our assistant instructions, we can describe specific behavior that we'd like our assistant to adopt. This is our business logic. These are our business processes. This is very exciting because the number of use cases for AI-driven systems is massive. If you'd like myself or my team to help you build an AI assistant and help figure out which parts of your business can be automated, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll drop a link to the code in the description below. And thank you for watching.